Welcome back to Full Build Friday. The regular guy is sick, so I'm covering for this week's build, where we try to build a character from a comic, game, or similar source in Pathfinder Second Edition. This week continues the builds for Scooby-Doo characters with danger-prone Daphne Blake. As per usual, we have set ourselves some goals for this build, drawing from a range of Daphnes throughout the years. At her core, Daphne Blake is a fashion-loving but danger-prone member of Mystery Incorporated. First established in a pup named Scooby-Doo, and then repeated in other incarnations since, Daphne hails from an affluent background. While her original character was somewhat plain, she has demonstrated considerable training in martial arts, even taking part in martial arts tournaments. When forced into a fight, Daphne relies on her flexibility and quick thinking during fights. With a history of being captured by culprits, Daphne has learned how to use her own makeup accessories to pick locks and otherwise escape binds. In several different incarnations, Daphne has taken up the job of a reporter after leaving Mystery Incorporated. With that, it's time to make like suffering and build some character, which starts with our ABCs, the ancestry, background, and class for Daphne Blake. As will likely be the case for many of the gang, Daphne is a human that makes use of the versatile heritage, granting her toughness since she doesn't invest much in constitution early on. She also takes up natural ambition with her ancestry feats, which grants her an extra class feat that we'll get into when we get there. I could have gone with a more investigative background given both her work with Mystery Inc. and a reporter, but I liked leaning into her family's wealth and influence for the sake of diversity among these builds, if nothing else. As such, she makes use of the noble background, which makes her trained in society and heraldry lore, while also granting her courtly graces skill feat to make her more at home amongst high society. Finally, I fully embraced the martial arts mastery of Miss Blake by building her as a dex-based monk. I just realized, for the video format, I've never done a character whose class didn't come up with a subclass, which means I can go straight into talking about her feats. Reflective Ripple Stance gives her a stance that makes use of her finesse while also giving her the trip and disarm traits. Disarm is in a questionable state, but I like these maneuvers since the gang is more about capturing the villains than outright combating them. To help her run from these culprits and evade them, she can take Key Rush, though I suppose magic is sort of out of the realm of what Daphne is usually known for. Monks are one of those rare classes that aren't automatically trained in any skills, so she will become trained in acrobatics, athletics, diplomacy, performance, stealth, and thievery. As mentioned, Daphne is dex-based, and as such will prioritize her dexterity, followed by her strength to bolster her damage, and then charisma as Daphne is traditionally a sweetheart. At second level, Daphne will actually start looking at options outside of her class by taking the Rogue Dedication, which nets her the Surprise Attack class feature. I'd like this to represent Daphne surprising people with her martial prowess after they underestimate her. This archetype also makes her trained in Deception and Occultism, and will grant her an additional skill feat. This means that she has both Bargain Hunter to represent her love of shopping, while Bon Mot covers some of her more snarky incarnations, though is mostly just a useful debuffing feat. Like many of Mystery Inc., Daphne spends a lot of time being chased, so she naturally has fantastic cardio as demonstrated by her Fleet General feat at 3rd level. With her skill at escaping confinement, Thievery will get the first skill increase to Expert. Flying Kick at 4th level is a generally useful feat and a type of attack that's made once or twice in various media. Ever endangered by enemies and her environment, Daphne takes Catfall as her skill feat to defend against collapsing builds, crumbling cliffs, and trapdoors. The Blake family seems to be mostly old money, which is represented through her Keep Up Appearances ancestry feat at 5th level, even if some foes have forced her to face her fears. Following the use of Catfall, her skill increase for this level goes to Acrobatics, setting it to Expert. The taking of Sneak Attacker at 6th level is largely mechanical. It helps make up for Daphne's lower strength, and therefore lower damage, and no other class feats really stood out to me. For her skill feat, she can take Wary Disarmament. Familiar with the traps and snares Fred has laid, knowing the safest ways to disable similar devices. At 7th level's general feat, Daphne can take Breath Control, again calling back to the insane cardio workout regime of the gang. As a monk, she also gains an increase to a saving throw through the Path to Perfection. Given her agility and grace, pumping Reflex to Master made the most sense. However, rather than increasing a skill to Master, she'll be spending this skill increase to push Diplomacy up to Expert. Partially because it fits her often acrobatic fighting style and partially to open the way for advanced trickery, Daph takes basic trickery at 8th level to pick up Tumble Behind so that she can throw enemies off balance by rolling into them rather than running away. As mentioned several times already, our dear Daph has a habit of getting grabbed, but she can use slippery prey to alleviate some of that, making further struggles while she's captured easier for her. Despite being a bit of a fashionista who appears superficial at first glance, Daphne tends to stay true to herself, which can be represented through her Know Oneself Ancestry feat at 9th level. This level also sees her increase her acrobatics to master proficiency. This build is a little skill hungry, in part because Daphne has picked up a variety of tricks in her various incarnations, so at 10th level she'll use skill mastery from her rogue archetype to increase diplomacy to master and athletics to expert. She also takes Eyes of the City from this feat, letting her use her prowess as a reporter and conversationalist to track down suspects in an urban environment. From her actual skill feat this level, she grabs Shameless Request since we have the diplomacy investment and some instances of Daphne are surprisingly candid. Prescient Planner at 11th level may seem a little strange, but it isn't intended to represent her ability to plan. It's meant to represent the vastness of her wealth where the situation calls for it. She just happened to have picked up a trinket or bauble that the party needs. On her second path to perfection, she selects Will mostly because it's more fitting than Fortitude. Then, she finally gets around to increasing Thievery to master proficiency. By 12th level, Daphne can take Whirling Throw. She's thrown around some people with surprising capability, but a major use of this comes from imagining her working with the rest of the gang. In this case, Whirling Throw is great for hurtling the enemy into one of Fred's snares. Quick Unlock from her skill feats aids her in escaping whatever bind she might find herself in. An Ancestry feat at 13th level allows Daphne to take advanced general training to take Prescient Consumable, simply building out of Prescient Planner and letting her hand out Scooby Snacks to embolden her allies. She also increases Athletics to Master. Sticking to Daphne's more acrobatic fighting style, at 14th level she takes up Dodging Roll, which may actually be helpful in dodging traps, and as such as well, given her familiarity with them. From her skill feats, Tumbling Theft felt fun, and it can be imagined as her snatching a clue from an enemy as she collides with them. Much like the Prescient feats are intended to show off her capital, a home in every port at 15th level could represent her family having a vacation home or something similar every place that she visits. Her third and final path to perfection increases her reflex save to legendary, while her skill increase boosts her acrobatics to legendary. Earlier on, Daphne took basic trickery, which means at 16th level she can take advanced trickery to gain sidestep. This would be a little bit better if you could cause the creature to hurt itself, which she has done with her deft dodges, but this is still fun and works well enough. From her catfall, she can take Rolling Landing as her skill feat, letting her take a tumble without breaking a stride. I suppose Heroic Presence could make sense for Daphne as her 17th level Ancestry feat. She's done some pep talks for the gang before, but I'm still just left wanting more options at this power level for Ancestries. Moving past that, she will increase her Thievery to Legendary. At 18th level, Daphne can take Swift River to better escape effects that would hold her back even if she doesn't spend actions to do so. The skill feat for this level is something that likely could have been taken earlier, but no cause for alarm allows her to abate the fears of her friends, particularly Shaggy and Scoob. 19th level grants Daphne her final general feat, which she will spend on Incredible Initiative to perhaps make better use of her Surprise Attack class feature. Athletics gets increased to Legendary. For her final level, Daphne takes Enduring Quickness, meaning she's always got an action to spare to run from the baddies. This makes as much sense as any other capstone feat for her, and more than some. And just so that she has more action compression and speed to her, she also takes Kip Up for her skill feat and then an increase to intelligence, becomes trained in religion. With that, we've come to an end of this build, which means that it's time to cover what has been put together so far. Daphne Blake is a versatile human monk with a noble background. After a lifetime of being the damsel in distress, she uses Slippery Prey, Quick Unlock, and Martial Prowess to escape that history. Her love of fashion and shopping finds some representation in Bargain Hunter, while Prescient Planner, Consumable, and A Home at Every Port are a nod to the vast resources of her family. Being a dex-focused martial artist with several acrobatics and athletic skill feats, Daphne also makes use of options such as Sidestep, Tumble Behind, and Tumbling Theft to outwit enemies. Sidestep is another good way to represent this, though is a little bit more slapstick. Her investment in Thievery and its related skill feats cover her use of her own makeup accessories to pick locks. This Madam of Martial Might matches monsters with manic mirth while maintaining a margin of materialism. Let me know what you think of this build and what other characters you might like to see in the comments down below. You can check out the blog for a deeper breakdown of the build, which also includes items and suggestions for a free archetype game. That, alongside with the Monster Monday Twitter and Discord, are linked in the description below. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic Friday.
It was only a silent movie.
Well, if the movie was silent, why can't you be?